23rd of February 2011. I am joined first of all, I'll say, if you want to get in touch, email studio@queensradio.org is the email address if you've got any questions or anything that you want to put forward. We may or may not have time to fit those in, but I hope we will. I'm joined by Manuela Moser, my co-host. Good afternoon.
Hello.
And thanks for joining us. And first of all, we are joined by two candidates for VP Education, Nuala McAdams and Corina. Thanks for joining us.
Hello.
And well, I'd just like to say first of all that Louis O'Neill, the other candidate, didn't opt out of the debate. He just can't be here. So fair play to him. I'm not don't want to make him look like he's just sticking out or anything. So it is Joe and Nuala. First of all, we'll start with you, Joe. I'd like to just ask you to kind of introduce yourself and say what you think you would bring to the role of VP Education if you're elected, and kind of what your approach is.
How's it going? I'm Joe Corina. I'm from Liverpool and I'm a third year politics student. I've been involved in Queen's Student Union for 4 years now. I've been on the Welfare Committee, the Welfare and Education Committee, and I've got a lot of work sort of under my belt. I've got experience.
I'm an MA student from Derry. I've had 4 years experience on the SSCCs, which are a big thing at the minute under Nathan Anderson. I've been involved in the training courses that he set up this year, and there's another one on Thursday, which I'm going to do. I am currently chair of the Education and Welfare Committee, which holds both the VP of Education and Welfare to account. And this morning I've attended an exam board meeting, so I've dealt with heads of schools, and I'm unfortunately too comfortable telling them exactly what our SSCCs has shown how dedicated I am to education in Queens. I want to just keep that going.
Okay. I want to ask the two of you, one of the kind of issues that's facing, our current VP for Education is there's been a lot of criticism of the amount of feedback students get at Queen's. A lot of them kind of aren't happy with it, so I want to ask the two of you how you would kind of tackle that problem and what your approach to that would be. After you. Feel free to both contribute on this one.
We were actually discussing that at the exam board this morning about the amount of feedback that has been given back, and lecturers have been saying that students need to communicate this directly to them, that most schools are happy enough if you bring it to your SSCC, most schools are happy enough to change the way that feedback is given. So give the feedback online immediately as soon as first marker has done it, just like provisional feedback. So that's kind of, it's been started in some schools, and it seems like a pretty good way of doing it. I think I'd push for more schools to do it, to give first marker back as soon as possible, and then second marker will obviously come once the externals.
There are rules in place for limits on the week. In terms of feedback, it has to be 3 weeks after or no more, and sometimes schools are failing on that. It's very different across the board. Some schools are very good at it and some schools are very bad at it. So the quality assurance audit that was done recently, they've actually said the Queen's got brilliant feedback. Now, I would agree that the system in place is good, but it's not being adhered to by the schools. So what we need to do is chase up the schools on sticking to the rules that are in place. And also, I was just at a medical lecture there, chatting to a few students, and they actually had an entire lecture on feedback, which is brilliant, because I think they took an hour going into the ins and outs of the general problems that people had. I think that a big thing about us is that researchers are in the schools are hidden away, and it's important that if a student wants to go and see an academic, they are available enough so that a student can go and ask questions, because a big thing about feedback is not just getting a few lines written, whether it's any good or any bad, and a few X's marked in the boxes saying good, fair, or whatever, but being able to have a conversation with your professor saying, here, maybe this was a bit unfair, why is that? What can I do to improve this? And I think making the teachers and the researchers more available so that students can have a good discourse with them and building up this relationship is really...
There's a mix-up between schools, and with exams and things like that, if you're split between 2 different schools, the schools don't communicate. So it's up to the VP of Education and DASA, the Director of Academic and Student Affairs, they push the schools, they communicate together for the students, because the students are losing out with the schools.
So our employability, not just now done. What's important now is in the current situation, it's not just a degree that's going to get you somewhere. Labour's idea of having 50% of students in university education means it's quite a crowded sort of competition now. What I think is vital is that I've been lucky that in my politics course there's a module that's compulsory, which is skills and methods. And I was down at the Queen's Experience Conference there, and the thing that came back a lot from postgraduates, but also across the board, is that ICT skills are vital now. If you're going to go into a job, for example, if you're starting a career in anything, they want you to have clerical skills and IT skills. So putting employability into every degree, so that Degree Plus is fantastic, and I will aim to push that as hard as I can, but also trying to get the skills that you would get in Degree Plus and put it into the degree, because students now, I work 2 jobs to be able to put myself through university. I can't afford to not go to my job and go to Degree Plus to further my Degree Plus, so I want to bring employability into the actual curriculum. We've also talked about feedback, I mean that goes without saying, and another thing that's really important is appeals procedures. At the moment, the highest level of appeal or court of appeals is the Board of Visitors, which are actually all in the pocket of the Vice-Chancellor. What I want to do is continue the work of Nathan Anderson, the current VP Education. In England, Scotland and Wales, there's an official and independent adjudicator, which is not related to any university. I want to bring that in over Northern Ireland, so that when students feel that they've been hard done by the university, they're not then going to the Vice-Chancellor's cronies, they're actually going to an independent adjudicator who can act impartially on the place of the student and the university.
The academic experience of students, getting what you want out of your degree, like improving feedback is obviously one of the key ones. Improving the resources online. For many international students who are, on holidays, they're back at home, they can't get to the library. Try and get as much, work with the library to get as much of their resources online as possible, just to make it easier to access for those who aren't physically in Belfast when they have assignments due. Exam timetables. There's been a lot of issues, especially with arts and humanities students who pick different modules. Often their exams could run right under each other, and it just puts too much pressure on people, especially when it comes up to final exams, and people just get hysterical and you're not concentrating on the exam that's right in front of you. You're panicking about not being able to prepare for the next one. So I think ensuring that timetables are out as early as possible. Other universities have them as soon as you sign up for a module, so you have plenty of time to prepare. There's no reason why you can't set up an exam timetable at the start of the year rather than wait to November, December. Same subjects you're going to be dealing with room booking.
The effect of having to work when you're not able to put yourself through your degree is affecting, Louis can't be here because he has to work because of the issue of fees. So the fight on fees is vital because it affects nearly every student. I mean, I don't know anyone of my friends who hasn't worked for university, and I think, all 3 of us understand, Louis especially, that working does get in the way, and so what we need to do is make university more accessible, more even classes, more availability of resources, so that if you do have to work at one point, the teachers are available then. For example, teachers being in there 9 to 5, what if someone has to work 9 to 5? They don't get access to that stuff. So maybe having 1 hour a week evening with your school, where someone who does have a job can get there, and get that access to the expertise that they need.